If you're into teasers, I recommend waiting for the end of this video. One of the coolest things I've ever seen on the Amiga is at the end here. So right now we're going to look at another unreleased game from 1994 called Moonchild. This was the AGA sequel to Hoy. And Hoy was this guy right here, the green guy, that was in a game for OCS, ECS a few years earlier. Unfortunately, after Commodore folded, they moved to the PC for this game, and it came out, the full game, in a higher resolution for the PC. So you can check that out. But this one here was really nice looking. These guys were demo coders. So if anyone's ever seen the last level of the original Hoy, it's super crazy demo tricks everywhere. I'm probably going to do a video on that one day. So the first thing that's really cool is this. Look at that thing. If you go to the top of it, it's like a tree or kind of like a Dr. Seuss kind of tree. So how have they done that? Well, let's take off the sprites and boom, it's a sprite. If we take off everything except the copper sky, then sprite 0 is half of that and sprite 1 is the other half. So that's just attached 15 colors, just one attached sprite. And because sprites are infinite height on the Amiga, then I can just keep going down with just the sprite on all the way to the bottom. And there he is that whole time. That's just the one sprite. So you may have noticed when I took the sprites off that the background disappeared. So sprite 2 and 3 make up the background. So it's just one attached sprite again, and they multiplex it across the screen. So let's look at the copper visualizer for how they're doing this sprite. So you'll remember that the wavy sprite is sprite 0 and 1, and then the background sprites were sprite 2 and 3. So it's all these ones over here are 2 and 3 for the background, and they're just static. It's just multiplexing it across the screen. So over here is sprite 1, which is the wavy one. And you see how its position is always changing, but the vertical horizontal start position data is the same as the other ones. What's different is these two lines is the sprite 0 position and control data, which is also constantly changing, and then sprite 1 position and control data. So I think this is what is controlling the movement. If I put the blitter visualizer on, you'll see it's just myself and Hoy there, and then the screen scrolling that's blitting in. There's not really any enemies in the game. I don't know if they're going to put them in or if it's going to stick more to puzzles. And it's cool when you put the sprite visualizer on and you got that moving sprite. Yeah, look at that. So yeah, attached 0, 1, and then the back attached 2, 3. The game is very fast. Watch, he really gets up to speed here and gets flying. Woo. Yeah, and 50 frames per second the whole time. So yeah, it could be a good benchmark for Sonic that's coming out on the 1200. It's also very colorful. It appears to be in 7-bit planes. So if we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that should be it. Yeah, the 8-bit plane doesn't affect anything. So clicking on the palette visualizer, they've got some colors that are cycling over here. So it's interesting that each set of colors is sort of like a ramp or a gradient of that color. So it says there's 260 colors here. That includes color 0, which has the vertical gradient and lots of colors. So if you take the palette visualizer off and just look at the number of colors in this exact scene, it's 216, but again, that's the nice 24-bit gradient that is adding a lot of those colors. It should be maximum 128 without the back sky because of the 7-bit planes. And it's also copperizing these numbers down here. Yeah, check out the speed here. Here's the DMA stats for the game. The copper is taking up more slots probably than any game I've seen yet. I think it has a lot to do with the 24-bit gradients because they're so big they go multiple screens, and it takes 2 copper changes, I think, to do a 24-bit color change compared to just a normal color change. Plus it's doing all that stuff with the sprites. It actually transitioned into a new sprite background here. So sprite 2 and 3, which were the mountains, now become these purple balls. And are you ready to see what I was teasing about? Check out that. How cool does that look? That's Snake. This awesome snake is only one attached sprite. So look at this, sprite 0 and 1. That's it. So 15 colors, but it looks like much more than that. It's done really nice. Looks like almost high res. Here he is with the sprite visualizer. So yeah, attach 0 and 1. Only 64 pixels across. And here's everything off except the copper sky and the snake. I just so amazed how good this looks. You know, you can tell that they were part of the demo scene. So looking at the copper visualizer, it's set up the same way as the beginning with the first gray sprite that was wavy. The same things over here with the sprite 0 and 1 position. The only thing is they changed the palette of the sprite. And somehow I think they put a gradient on the blue and stuff in the snake because it just looks like so much more than 15 colors. So yeah, this is a mind-blowing effect for me. It really shows the power of AGA. It's so sad that this game never came out, but it's so fun to see what's possible. So hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon. Take care.